AFC South. What was the most impressive part of the win yesterday to you guys?
On Battle Red Day in Houston, down 14-13, going right down the field to take a lead they wouldn't relinquish. It was a great response to the Texans trying to grab momentum.
Yeah, this kind of plays into that, the will and the resilience of the Jaguars.
Welcome into Jags A.M. presented by CarShield. I'm Kainani Stevens, Brian Sexton, and John Oehser with me today as we recap one of the biggest games of the year for the Jaguars. We knew it was going to be a big one going into it, but our first big thing of the day is cardiac cats because they made it dramatic, went right down to the final play of this game, and a missed field goal was the difference as the Jaguars snuck out of Houston with a win in a big game for the team this year. Doug Peterson talked about it after the game.
I mean, it's game 11, but they're always big, right? I mean, anytime you play your division, they're all big games, and obviously we understand what this team did to us, a few weeks back, and it is another, game on the schedule. A lot of football ahead still, but it's big. I mean, you don't ever want to go 0-2 against a division foe, any year, obviously, but. Our guys will respond again, just much like they did this week. It's going to take a good week of prep and their film study and all of that. But great opportunity. It's going to be loud. They're playing extremely well. We are too, and it should be a good matchup.
Brian, we talked earlier this week about how this game might have huge implications on the AFC South, almost an AFC South title game early in the year. But did it live up to the billing to you?
What's the right way to say this? It's all but over, right? I mean, there are games left to play, and there are 6 games left to play, so there's a lot of football left. Anything could happen. But the Jaguars now have a commanding 2-game lead with 6 to play. They still have the ability to have a big home game, 2 big home games, right, against AFC powers. There's a lot of opportunity for this team to just steamroll their way to the division title. It won't be easy, but it feels like they wrapped it up yesterday.
Yeah, and I think Doug and anybody with experience in the team would tell you it's over as long as they do what they need to do. Meaning, if you limp down the stretch and go 1-5, you're not going anywhere anyway. So I guess the point is that they've set themselves up to concentrate on the number 1 seed, the number 2 seed, and think about those kind of things. You don't ignore the division, but now you can, as Trevor said, if they do what they're supposed to do, they don't have to worry about that. And boy, what a difference from last year, right?
It's nice to be in the front, not have to try to win every game in a row to win the division. So it's a good spot to be at this point in the year. Our second big thing today is going to be zeroed in. Calvin Ridley had a huge game against the Titans, 2 touchdowns here at Everbank Stadium, and he had a really big second half yesterday. And he talked a little bit post-game about how, while he had a drop early on in the game, he didn't let himself get out of it.
I'm going to bounce back every time. I'm mad about it, but I'm not that mad about it as people think. It was just like, I made that. But I'm not that mad. I'm not out of the game. You know what I'm saying? I'm not out of the game. I'm ready to continue to make plays. Don't stop throwing me the ball. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready. But I want to make that play, but I'm never out of the game. I may look like I am, but I'm not. I'm ready to continue to make plays, so that's what it is.
Calvin says he's never out of the game. John, we certainly saw that in the second half as he was a crucial part to this kind of comeback, if you will, a little bit in the second half and the win.
Well, he was the go-to guy, and even when he wasn't producing receiving numbers on this team this year, 11 games in, he's always been the hardest guy to cover on this team for the defensive backs. I think it's 12 penalties now he's drawn, 11. When they needed it yesterday, he came up big. I had some fans, he had to drop in the first half. Look, the NFL's hard. You don't catch everything. He has mattered a great deal. I think this was, again, you can count 4 or 5 games this year now, Brian. I'm not sure they win 3 or 4 games if he's not on the field. I'm not sure they win yesterday if he's not on the field.
No, they don't. The last 2 weeks, he really has looked, John, like the number one receiver, a guy who can take over the game. And it's important to remember that when he first got to Atlanta, that was Julio Jones. He was the accoutrement. This is the first time in his career where he's the legitimate alpha receiver. And if you combine that with the fact that it takes time to develop chemistry with the quarterback, right now we are just starting to see the Calvin Ridley, the Trent Baalke, and Doug Peterson thought they were going to get when they made the trade last year. I mean, he ran the same route on the touchdown as on the 2-point conversion. How many guys can get away with that, right? He is tremendous, and I think he's got so much upside left. I can't wait to see what he does the remaining 6 games of the year.
Our final big thing this week is on the other side of the ball, pay the man. It's about Josh Allen. He's in a contract year, and he's been earning every penny with his play so far this season. 2 huge sacks on that last play, that last possession for the Texans. And Trevor Lawrence talked a little bit about the play of Josh Allen yesterday.
They did a great job offensively of being able to do that and extend plays, but then, our pass rush really stepped up at the end of the game and got some huge sacks. I mean, you look at both those plays to keep them, he almost made it, but to keep them out of field goal range and make that a 58, 59-yarder, that's huge. If you let them get some yards there and they're kicking a 50-yarder, that's a big difference. So, that won us the game, and our defense really stepped up when we needed them.
Saw the kick go off the crossbar, so it certainly was all the difference. Those sacks definitely played a role in that. Brian, we don't tell the GM what to do very often, but pay the man.
Oh, yeah.
Seems like Josh needs to be paid.
Well, and look, Josh Allen in Detroit in August came into one of our preseason production meetings and said he was betting on himself to finish this year, to finish the play. And he did yesterday. He finished the game with his strongest performance of the season. We can focus on that because he and Trayvon were just wrecking that offensive front and creating havoc. But John, the pass rush overall yesterday, led by Josh Allen, it got to the quarterback. It didn't in week 3. Roy Robertson-Harris was getting pressure up the middle. You saw 91 and 95 and 94. They were also making him move his feet. It was a strong performance by the Jaguars pass rush in a game that they needed it, led by Josh Allen, who now has a career-high 12 sacks.
Yeah, and it shows you how different the game is now, Brian. If you had said 20 years ago that somebody throws for whatever C.J. Stroud threw for, over 300, 2 touchdowns, you just said, oh, they didn't get any pass rush. Oh, what a terrible defensive game. Well, you can have a good defensive game now and a guy still have those kind of numbers. They did affect C.J. Stroud. They got to him in big moments. I always talk about breaking serve on defense in this day and age. It felt to me like they affected him enough that it kept them in control of the game. And I know the numbers, and there were certain plays that didn't show that. Against a guy like C.J. Stroud, you're not going to stop every play very often. They affected him when it mattered, and they had big stops at the end of the game. And in a game of inches, those plays mattered. And good for Josh Allen. I mean, it's how hard he's worked, how much he's wanted it, how close he's been. To see it all come to fruition is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's important. You mentioned that it's tough the way that the league is set up these days. And the Jaguars saw Tank Dell get them for a couple of plays. And then they clamped down on him, and he finished with 5 catches for 50 yards. He did have the touchdown. So all of a sudden, Nico Collins becomes the guy. And then the Jaguars lean towards him. And then there's Xavier Henderson, the rookie from Iowa State. This quarterback, Stroud, within the context of the way that the rules are set up, is a really gifted quarterback and a guy that can make a lot of different throws. The Jaguars came up with the plays, John, when they needed to. You're not going to keep the numbers from these quarterbacks. That's just not the way the rules are written these days. They want to see, they being the league, and they want to see these quarterbacks putting the ball up and down the field. It's just about your defense breaking serve 2 or 3 times in the second half, and the Jags did that.
There's a lot of good plays on both sides of the football yesterday. Coming up after the break, we will go over all of the highlights for you from Jaguars Texans.
Jaguars fans, huddle up for the best defense against expensive car repairs, CarShield. Score big with the nation's #1 automotive protection company, CarShield. They offer affordable plans that cover over 6,000 parts and systems in your car, truck, or SUV. Don't miss any Jaguars action this season with a car breakdown. Call the MVPs at CarShield for their best coverage ever. Call 800-471-1223. 800-471-1223. Go Jags!
Since 2014, there's been only one official home builder of the Jaguars, Dream Finders Homes. With quality-built homes and a speedy move-in process, we're in 20-plus communities in the best locations across Northeast Florida. Dreamfinders Homes is everywhere you want to live. So get off the sidelines, Jags fans, and get into the game. Let Dreamfinders help you navigate your home purchase and offer great interest rates. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for all your move-in ready homes and step up your game.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at Everbank Stadium, because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbecue.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Move the freight. Move the freight, move the freight. Magellan Transport voted the coolest office space in Jacksonville. You can apply online at www.magellanlogistics.com. Welcome into Jags A.M. as we get ready to go over some of our highlights from yesterday. It's nice to have a lot of highlights to go over. I'm sure some people didn't like the drama of the game, but it made for interesting viewing.
That's what makes it the #1 sport in America.
Sure is. It's always good. Well, let's start out with Trevor's first touchdown of the day, as he, we saw him set it up, and then he hasn't been great on the kind of quarterback sneaks that we've seen from him. At least they look a little more stressful than they should be. John, I think I was sitting next to you and I was like, this is like the most stressful quarterback sneak I've seen. But
I'm sure you didn't like the one-handed reach with the ball. I mean,
he does it. He gets away with it.
Tough sometimes.
It'll bite him at some point. Look, I get a lot of questions about why don't they quarterback sneak more? Well, they're not good at it. And it's not necessarily Trevor. They are not a mammoth, terrifically strong interior line that gets a lot of push. They haven't been that so far. So it's hard for them to quarterback sneak. So that makes these situations difficult.
The thing that put my heart in my throat, you see how quickly his arm is rocketed backwards?
Yes.
I'm like, oh.
I was like, oh.
He got it over the line, but look how quickly that one goes backwards. You're right, John. It's a dangerous way to play the game.
Hopefully they'll figure it out. They need that tush push kind
They got to,
of.
at some point, they've got to
that.
figure out how to ram it in from a yard out without risking the ball.
Well, maybe we can get Tank to come around.
He had 1 6-yard carry. And I thought, there you go, boy, because I had made him my hot take last week, and I thought, all right, you're on. And then he didn't see the ball again.
Travis was out of the game at that point, and so they went a little deeper in the running back rotation.
Yeah.
So,
well, he had a 6-yard rush. I mean, I still think you're going to see him. He's going to be a solution to a problem at some point this year.
Okay. I was happy to see Dearness in there as well.
Yep.
Let's go to Stroud's touchdown to Tank Dell. So we were worried about this a little bit just because we know the propensity for the big play for the Texans and just that scrambling ability. And as much as we talked about miscommunication in the backfield, it's really hard when you're expecting your DBs to cover somebody for 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds. And that's a lot of what CJ Stroud, I didn't realize as much until we watched this game yesterday. That's a lot of what he does. Yeah. His scrambling ability gives him so much time that his receivers find a way to get open, and that's where a lot of those big plays come from.
Well, this was an evolution to his game, Kai. We didn't see it in the first game that he ran around and made plays on the run. It's something that he clearly is capable of doing. And with that receiver, Dell, who's a revelation, what a tremendous rookie season he's having. He's so hard to cover, John. Maybe there's a receiver you recall like him, but he looks different to me.
Yeah, he's hard to cover, and I got some pushback from fans. Oh, why'd they only rush 3 here? Well, look, they brought a lot of pressure. I don't think overall yesterday they could have pressured him any better. They know he plays this way. If you watch them rush the passer, Brian and Kai, there were a lot of times where they were staying in their lanes. They were trying to contain, even on that play. Mm-hmm. Instead of going after him, they were sort of playing, angle defense, if you will. I'm not putting that very well, but they were trying to stay in lanes and contain him a little bit. Look, if the blitz worked every time, everybody would do it every play. Well, you can't do it every play. On that play, it got him because they made a play against a good team that's going to happen sometimes.
When you drop 8 like that against a rookie quarterback, you're betting that you can force him to make a throw that he doesn't necessarily want to, and it could become a turnover, a takeaway. It didn't happen. That was a great throw, dangerous throw, back across your body into traffic, but Dell slid away from Rayshon Jenkins, and it was a good throw by C.J. Stroud, but you're going to drop 8 against quarterbacks. That's another thing they do in this league is try to create some confusion, give them a different look, and see if you can create turnovers.
And if you surprise them with a blitz every time, guess what happens? It's not so surprising anymore. Yeah. So you can pick apart that play, but I thought the defensive plan yesterday against an ascending quarterback was very good.
Yeah.
We'll go to the waning seconds of the first half because the Texans missed a field goal and the Jaguars got the ball back with a little over 30 seconds, I think, at that point. And then they got a huge play out of Christian Kirk. I think they were just trying to get into field goal territory. They almost got a touchdown on this play. And then they chose to go for it. And I wrote a little bit about it. I talked to John about it too. I wasn't surprised Doug wanted to go for it. They didn't get it. And I think that's where, Doug always likes to go for it, and then, when you don't get it, they criticize. When you get it, you look really smart. So I wasn't against it, and I think it was smart. And I think when you look at the end of the game, you see what sometimes the conservative point of view gets you.
Well, look, Doug, he said right after the game, I'm going to go for it again. This play didn't work. So it by default is a bad play. But I would rather see the ball go forward than back, and it has to go back to the 6-yard line to get into the end zone. I mean, this is where I think the Jaguars need to focus on finding a way to get a yard or 2 going forward when they want it.
Well, they don't trust the interior on that play. And I'm not trying to bash that.
No.
It's just it's so far in 11 games, that play pushing forward has not developed trust to be used in this situation. A lot of feedback in the O-zone about, dumb call, kick the field goal, take the points. Look, if you don't like that approach, don't watch the Jaguars anymore until Doug's
going to go
Doug's always
because it's going to be him. So I got an email last night saying, I am so tired of watching this team give up field goals they ought to be kicking. And my response was, are you tired of being in first place?
Winning.
Because that's the trade-off. Doug believes that the long and short-term benefits of aggression in that situation far outweigh the occasional short-term risk, negative, whatever it is. He believed right there he could end the game. And it didn't happen, but he believes overall if he does that 10 times and ends the game 6 times, that's more of a benefit that you can make up for it if you miss it. But it's a kill shot if you hit it.
It may not happen this season, but I would love to see them figure out a way to run the ball in from the 1-yard line. That again, they're not the Eagles, right? If the Eagles get the ball on the 1-yard line, is there any doubt they're scoring? No, because no one has figured out how to stop that. And with a 6'6" quarterback, it isn't the same dynamic. I totally get that. But I think I'm speaking for a lot of people when I say figure out a way to get the yard when you need the yard.
I'd like to see it too, but I also don't think you need to be silly and continue to drive your head against the wall. It's not going to
No. I'm talking long term because, again, if they're up 20-7 there, I'm not saying that the Texans can't mount a comeback, but I'm saying the Jaguars are a lot more aggressive in the second half on defense. I think that's that next step you go to. Instead of walking off the field, you walk off 20-7 and you say, hey, now we're really coming after you.
And you're getting the ball back after the kick.
Absolutely. And Doug has said it time and again the last couple of weeks. We haven't done anything yet, right?
Right.
They're still evolving into who they're going to be as a football team. That's just one of those things on the to-do list that they've got to figure out.
All right, we're going to jump to the second half now. That questionable call on Evan, we're going to skip over that that holding call that just ended up being the pick that led to this touchdown from C.J. Stroud, where we saw him kind of rushing in, which we didn't see him running a whole lot. It was more scrambling to throw. But it's just, he's dynamic in a way, and obviously the national media talks about him all the time, but he's different than the first time we saw him, because I thought he was great the first time we saw him, and now he's like, and maybe he's a little too confident, maybe, because some throws I think are a little not quite there yet, but he's feeling himself and he's making some of the throws, so that's probably why he has the confidence.
Yeah, he's a good player and still evolving, which makes him good because he's clearly adapting to what defenses are trying to do, which is that second step. They take certain things away, then he answers it by being able to counter that. Look, he's going to be good for a long time. He's a good player. Jaguars had to figure out a way to beat him. He's not God. He didn't score 42 points yesterday. He scored 21. So they figured out a way to beat him. I thought they contained him. They got him off the field a lot. And at the end of the game, they limited that last drive as much as they needed to.
This was the only game worth watching in the early window yesterday, and it has a lot of people around the league saying this is going to be a great matchup for years to come. It was a fun football game to watch, and I know Trevor said after the game he hopes that the teams in the division aren't that good. It's better for this. This guy's good, and this team is good. Depending on what happens in Indianapolis, this is going to go from a division that was sort of an also ran, the South, they're not that good, to one of the better divisions in football. And that's just, the Jags got to buckle up and get ready for it, because it's going to be a fight every Sunday.
That was a great answer on Trevor's part. No, I don't want him to be good. I want him to be bad. I want him to be,
Yeah, he wants to dominate.
Right. So, of course he doesn't like it. When the question was asked, I was like, I don't particularly like it. I work for the Jags.
Yeah, right.
So, you would rather C.J. Stroud stink, and he doesn't stink.
He certainly does not.
That's going to be a primetime game next year. You watch it.
I sure hope so. It's going to be a good one to watch both times that they play each other. Let's talk about that Trevor to Calvin Ridley touchdown, and then the 2-point conversion. That was the exact same play because it went so well the first time. They just did it again right after that. That whole possession, I know they got the PI call to set up the 1st and goal again for them there, but I was just impressed with them. That was a little bit of a shift for me. That was the sequence where I was like, okay, they're a good team. Like, good team needs to score here. They've had problems on 3rd down. They've had problems in the red zone, but they found a way. And I just, I think Etienne got stopped on the first one. Was there a pass? He tried to find Kirk, I think, in the corner maybe one time, and then to Ridley.
And he threw late over to Farrell on the play right before this.
Yep.
Or he could have had a touchdown. I think your point, Kai, is exactly right. Think about their last 7 victories. It's 7 out of 8 now. They haven't trailed in 5 of them. They trailed against the Colts in Week 6, which, by the way, if you don't beat the Colts in that game, you're tied for first place. So let's call those 2 games big games right now. And then yesterday, against the Colts, you trailed and you went and scored the next possession. Against this team, you trailed for 3 minutes and 41 seconds. You went and scored the next possession. They're not perfect, but they take control of games and they put their hands around the neck of the games and they choke it out. I mean, they are it's sort of my hot take, so I won't go deep into it, but they're doing what they have to do. And I don't care about close, whatever. They're putting themselves in situations at the end of games where they have the advantage. They have the percentage advantage. They kept it yesterday. That's how you grind through a season and get to the postseason.
Well, you think the Eagles mind winning close games?
Right.
They're 10-1. Yesterday they won by a field goal in overtime. Before that, they beat Kansas City at the end of the game, and they beat the Cowboys at the end of the game. All close games. So, yeah, that's just the way that the game goes. They're going to be close. This is the National Football League. There are good players on both sides of the ball. I mean, maybe not necessarily in a couple of cities, but in most of them, they are really good. So get used to it. It's the drama. It's what makes it great. You'd love to win a game by 10 and be able to sit back and relax in the 4th quarter, but that isn't what this league is these days.
It's not. It wasn't yesterday, let's put it that way, because the Texans certainly had a chance.
The way they want it to be, Kai. They want it to be close like that.
I know. So I will say it was a little bit stressful, especially that last Texans possession, because I do want to jump ahead to that, because we've got to talk about Josh Allen and what he was able to do. I think he got 1.5 sacks, because that second sack he split with Trayvon, but I don't think you win the game. You definitely go to overtime if you don't have those 2 sacks from Josh Allen, because the Texans were really driving at that point, and those 2 sacks took them out of field goal range, because as we saw, the kick went off the crossbar, and Josh just willed himself in that he won you the game, in my opinion.
He whipped Laramie Tunsil yesterday, and Laramie Tunsil is a really good left tackle, John.
Yeah, he was outstanding, and it's the little moments that matter in this league. And the first sack, people can say, well, it didn't matter that much, they got the first down. But right then, in that last drive, you're playing against field position and time. And the first sack pushed the Texans back to where now all of a sudden they probably weren't going to get a touchdown on that drive, and they were going to need a long field goal rather than a short field goal. And then you had the couple of plays where they were, there was a point in that drive where you thought, well, it's going to be an easy field goal in overtime, because they had gotten to this point with about 45 seconds. And Josh's pressure and the defensive pressure overall kept that thing to a 58-yard field goal when it felt like it was going to be a 45-yard field goal. And the defense made it harder, and that's the game of inches, this thing. That's what, honestly, Doug Peterson's really good at, putting them in position where they had the edge in those inches situations.
You know, we've also talked all year long about how Calvin Ridley doesn't get credit for all of the holding penalties and the pass interference penalties that he draws, and maybe he should. Well, Josh Allen drew a holding penalty on the first drive of the game from Laramie Tunsil. It's like, okay, it's on now. He should get credit for that. That forced it into 1st and 20, and they had to punt. So he was just an overall dominant figure. I mean, dominant figure. And when he needed to win the game on the road in the division, it's screaming loud, and he comes through with plays like that. And credit to Trayvon. I mean, that was a great pass rush. He came to get half that sack.
I know they probably weren't happy they had to split it, but I'll take it.
By the way, you know how many sacks Aiden Hutchinson has this year?
How many?
5.
Okay.
You know how many Trayvon Walker has?
5.
4.5.
4.5. Okay.
Just saying.
All right. Well, we're almost there for all the comparison shoppers. And then obviously the missed field goal at the end there. I was a little surprised that they didn't try to go for it, to be honest with you, because I thought it was such a long kick, and with the missed earlier and kind of the way their kicking game had been going, I was surprised they didn't try to go for it. Because if I'm the Texans, I'm kind of playing with house money at this point for this season, so I'd be like, why don't you go for it? But
well,
I'm glad they didn't.
I'm sure their analytics or their thought was this kid can hit that. I was actually watching him during pregame, and his leg is strong enough to get that kick there. So at that point, it was 4th and 9. Is that right?
4th and 12, maybe.
12.
Yeah,
okay,
it was long.
so your percentage of picking that up, probably your percentage of hitting a 58-yard field goal
is greater than
are probably higher than picking that up. Again, credit to the Jaguars. So much of late game is about creating those situations and those decisions. The Jaguars, manned up, for lack of a better word, and figured out a way to keep that to a 58-yard field goal. Those are the moments that define seasons.
It turned out to be the right call to kick it, because he was one rotation of the football probably from making
right,
it.
If you're 1 yard closer.
What they're talking about in Houston this morning is 3rd down and 1, and 4th down and 1 throwing it twice, right? 1 to Dalton Schultz, and I forget who the other one was, 2 down the side. They missed both of them and gave the ball to the Jaguars with 9:15 to play at their own 46-yard line. Now they're saying, well, why didn't you try to run the ball?
I told Kai I thought those were the funniest. We were sitting next to each other in the press box, and that was one of the stranger play calling sequences I've seen against the Jaguars in a while. And maybe they had a play they believe was going to work and be a kill shot. No, but it should have lost the game.
Yeah. Because
you gave the Jaguars the ball at your own 43. I'm sure Doug and Trevor, anybody would say that's where we have to go in the game.
Yes.
And they didn't. But right now in the league, well, always in the league, but right now in the league, it's those little moments. If the Jaguars go down right there and get a field goal, that probably feels like a blowout win.
Yeah.
They don't get it, and all of a sudden, that's how close it is. Like people who want these blowouts, they're just not common. It's not set up that way.
If you're looking for a definition of hard to win, right, because you always hear coaches say how hard it is to win in this league, yesterday, the 4th quarter from 9 minutes on, shows you how hard it is. The Jaguars got the ball inside Texans territory, couldn't get more than 2 minutes off the clock, then the Texans score a touchdown, force a punt, and then have a chance at a game-winning field goal. It's tough to win in this league.
Right. You're Zay Jones putting his foot down an inch inside from that being a blowout.
Yeah.
It was an inch from being a blowout, and instead
it's
almost
wrenching game. Right? Almost, your heart was in your throat as the ball was coming down on target, and then doink, it hits and falls the other way.
So close, yet so far. All right, coming up, we're going to do some hot takes after the break. Stay with us here on Jags A.M.
Jaguars fans, huddle up for the best defense against expensive car repairs, CarShield. Score big with the nation's #1 automotive protection company, CarShield. They offer affordable plans that cover over 6,000 parts and systems in your car, truck, or SUV. Don't miss any Jaguars action this season with a car breakdown. Call the MVPs at CarShield for their best coverage ever. Call 800-471-1223. 800-471-1223. Go Jags!
The kick is up. It's good!
Score winning sub deals this Jaguars regular season at Firehouse Subs. Get 2 medium subs for just $10 after any game when the Jaguars kick a field goal of 40 yards or more. It's a bold deal for the bold city. Sign up at firehousesubs.com/field-goals for Firehouse for offer details and to automatically receive this offer when you use your Firehouse Subs rewards account. Redeemable only at participating Jacksonville and Orlando area restaurants. Only available on the Firehouse Subs app and online ordering. The 2023 season is awesome. Introducing the Four-Legged Fan Club, the Jaguars' official fan club for pets. Presented by Forever Vets Animal Hospital, your furry friend can access exclusive merchandise, events, and sweepstakes throughout the season. Fan club members will be automatically entered to win the Pet of the Game sweepstakes with 2 Jags tickets and sideline passes for pet owners and the chance for your pet to be featured on the video boards as Pet of the Game. Visit jaguars.com/promotions/Four-Legged Fan Club to sign up.
You can sign up your furry friend for the Jaguars' official Four-Legged Fan Club for Pets, presented by Forever Vets Animal Hospital. Your pet will receive access to exclusive merchandise, events, and sweepstakes throughout the season. Visit jaguars.com/promotions/Four-Legged Fan Club to sign up today.
I want the teams in our division to be as bad as possible. So, no, I'm not. That's how I see it. And the way they're playing, it's exciting. Yes, there's going to be I'm sure some great matchups down the road. And CJ's he's playing lights out. He's doing a great job. I mean, to be a rookie and to play how he is, I got a lot of respect for him. I know how hard it is. I've been in that position. So he's doing a great job, and it's going to be fun for years to come, hopefully.
Oh, Trevor Lawrence. We love him for his honesty, and he was certainly honest when he was asked about whether he enjoys that rivalry with C.J. Stroud, because, of course, he wants them to be bad. He wants everyone else in the division to be bad so the Jaguars can be good.
Well, he's the only one who can do anything about that, right? I mean, he can go beat him and keep him behind him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think he deserves some credit, by the way, for, I usually don't watch broadcasts and worry about it.
Yeah.
But even last night on the NFL Network highlight show I watched, the first 4 highlights are C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Trevor Lawrence throws for 386 or whatever it was,
364.
And out.
Throws a touchdown.
I don't think I played them, but they won
Yeah.
and made huge plays in big moments. Trevor Lawrence deserves some credit for that's the second battle between those two. They're 1-1. He's 2 games up in the division. 1 for Trevor.
So here's my hot take. You ready?
Sorry about that.
No.
Let's go.
Here's my hot take, and that is the Jags are going to see these guys again this year. The way that the AFC is rolling out, the Bills lost a heartbreaker. I'm sure you saw it. It was a great game. But they're 6-6 now, and the way that their schedule rolls out, they're behind the Texans at this point. They're behind the Colts at this point. They have a long way to go. I think when you look at the Browns, right, they've lost their starting quarterback, their starting running back, 2 starting tackles, and maybe the third, and then yesterday, maybe the best defensive player in the game, Myles Garrett, leaves the game in a sling and says he doesn't know when he's going to play again. They're likely, because their offense is struggling in so many ways, to start sliding a little bit. Texans have all of a sudden a big game against the Broncos this week. If they win this one, I could see them sliding into that wild card spot, and I just have this sneaking suspicion, because I think that quarterback is really good, that we could see the Texans again this year.
I wouldn't be surprised. I certainly wouldn't be surprised, especially the way things have been playing out. And the schedule that they have the back half is a lot easier than what the Jaguars are going to be
You start looking at the Bengals too. They're coming in here and they struggled offensively yesterday, and they're on the schedule. It works with the way that it rolls out, that the Texans playing well, and they have played well, could find their way into the wild card.
I'd be surprised if they play again, but I get your point. You may not be wrong.
Well, it's a hot take. It's not a mildly...
We're going hot today. We're going sizzling hot takes. John, what's your hot take?
I think I went with so mature and so good. And what I mean by that is the difference between this time last year and this team. Maybe not this time last year, but mid-season. 2-6 and couldn't get out of their own way in terms of winning. Now, at the top of the show, you asked me biggest impression. The will and the inevitability of the win. It felt like they were going to figure out a way to win that game. They were the better team. They outgained them in yards, and yet once they got down 14-13, they didn't blink. And next drive, they come back, big-time players made big-time plays, and you're up 7. And the next drive, you're up 10. They said, no. this is going to be our game. This is our time. That's impressive, and to me, that's mature. 16 of the last 22 games they've won. 7 of the last 8 games they've won. They stay ahead of teams. It's not always pretty, but again, I keep talking about Doug puts them in situations where their percentages of winning the game are better late in the game, and that's how you have to play in the NFL. And they have become a mature team before our eyes. For whatever they're not, they have a knack for winning. And what I know we've said that around the Jaguars for years, Brian, about the but boy, is it refreshing to see and cool to see and very interesting to watch to me.
It is. Quick thought, Calvin Ridley had no catches in the first half. Yeah. And on those 2 drives where they went touchdown, field goal, back-to-back to grab 10-point lead, he had 4 catches and the 2-point conversion. So that was really encouraging to see that the quarterback and his number 1 receiver were on the same page when the game was on the line, when it mattered the most.
Well, and even when they've staggered offensively this season, they've had a tendency to do that. Big game against the Bills where they had big plays second half, Falcons big plays in the second half, New Orleans, they come up with big plays when they need to. You'd love it to be more often and more consistent. And it was funny in the locker room afterward, they felt offensively like they moved the ball at will. They really felt like it could have been a 35-point game for them. So you keep feeling like they're close, but short of being like a juggernaut, I'd like to have the team that makes big plays at key times. Right now, they're that.
And that's where I'm going with my hot take. I'm going to be a little bit nitpicky today. I'm happy with the win, but I still want more. I talked about that second touchdown from them, that getting the offensive the PI call, and then going in, getting that touchdown to Calvin Ridley, finding your best receiver when you needed that touchdown to bounce back after the Texans has just gone and scored. I want more from that, though. I want them to score before the Texans get the ball back so that the game is out of reach, so we don't need 2 Josh Allen massive sacks to set up that field goal. I want them to close things out, and they can, and they're so close to doing it. Whether it's, getting that touchdown right before the half to take them out right then, or later on when I was saying when they could have got that touchdown so that when the Texans got the ball back, it wasn't as close as it was. They're right there, and I know they can do it, and that's why I am so excited to see how they evolve in that couple of games. And these are the games that we've had circled on the calendar, and they take on the Ravens. The Bengals, I know they don't have Burrow, but it's still going to be a huge game, and I'm just excited because I feel like they're right there. They're right there.
It's 3rd and 2, right? You got to be able to convert on 3rd down and 2. And that's what they have struggled at. It's the worst conversion percentage they have, and that's the thing that has held them back. By the way, got to give them credit. They were very good on 3rd down yesterday. But if they can convert on 3rd and 2 on the goal line, it's 20-7 at the half. Well, it was 1st and goal, but you get my point. Be able to run, get that ball 2 yards up the field when you want it. 2 yards, not 6, 2. And you have a completely different ball game. This is a young team, and the coach keeps harping on it, so I will too. They haven't done anything yet. That's the growth that we could see over the final 6 weeks that might make all the difference between hosting a playoff game and hosting 2 playoff games.
I like the sounds of that. Here's hoping. All right, coming up after the break, we'll talk a little bit about what we've got going on this week before Monday Night Football.
Jaguars fans, huddle up for the best defense against expensive car repairs, CarShield. Score big with the nation's #1 automotive protection company, CarShield. They offer affordable plans that cover over 6,000 parts and systems in your car, truck, or SUV. Don't miss any Jaguars action this season with a car breakdown. Call the MVPs at CarShield for their best coverage ever. Call 800-471-1223. 800-471-1223. Go Jags!
Since 2014, there's been only one official home builder of the Jaguars, Dreamfinders Homes. With quality-built homes and a speedy move-in process, we're in 20-plus communities in the best locations across Northeast Florida. Dreamfinders Homes is everywhere you want to live. So get off the sidelines, Jags fans, and get into the game. Let Dreamfinders help you navigate your home purchase and offer great interest rates. Visit DreamfindersHomes.com for all your move-in ready homes and step up your game.
Calling all Jags fans, is your little one ready to become a junior Jaguar? Now through January 2nd, MyGate rewards loyalty members who buy 2 20-ounce Coca-Cola participating products will be entered to win one of 10 behind-the-scenes experiences at Everbank Stadium for your child. Plus, you'll earn a 10-cent rollback at the pump, a win every time. Fuel your child's dreams, your car, and your passion for the Jags with Gate, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jags fans, if you want customized Jaguars furniture for your home, check out zipchair.com to browse all the customizable options. ZipChair is furniture for fans. Also, Florida Blue is proud to be the exclusive health insurance partner and supporter of the Jacksonville community as the official community partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I mean, very impressed for a rookie quarterback to come in and perform at this level. The way he's throwing the ball, I just really admire his poise, quite frankly. He's putting the ball where he wants to put it, meaning it's very accurate throws. He's got the ability to escape and move and still keep his eyes down the field. I think that's a unique trait for a young quarterback to be able to do, and they're shooting the ball down the field. They're making big plays down the field, and it's just what you see is it's gaining confidence each week in him, in his team. That's a reflection of Coach Ryan D'Amico, and just been real impressed with him.
Back here in Jags A.M., big win over the Texans yesterday. A good battle between Trevor Lawrence and C.J. Stroud. But now we get to turn to Monday Night Football, and they haven't had that. We haven't had that around here in a while, right?
2011, December 2011. It was the first game after Shad was announced as the prospective owner. And it was the first game after Wayne Weaver fired Jack Del Rio. So it was Mel Tucker's first game as the interim coach. And in came the then San Diego Chargers and walloped them. 38-14. However, the Jaguars went 1-1 on Monday Night Football that year because they beat the Ravens in a 4 field goal win, 12-7 on Monday Night Football back in late September, early October.
Yeah, that was one of the more improbable Jaguars victories of the last 15. I mean, they played great in that game, great atmosphere, and I expect an unbelievable atmosphere on Monday. It's going to be cool.
They're 8-7 all time in 15 Monday Night Football appearances, but they haven't been on Monday Night Football in 12 years. So that's changing, right? I mean, it's obviously changing this Monday, but I'm telling you, the way that the national media in the last 12 hours have gravitated towards this C.J. Stroud, Trevor Lawrence matchup, this is going to be one of those games that the networks say, I want that one for Thursday night. I want that one for Monday night. I want that a primetime game. So buckle up. You're going to see the Jags in a primetime schedule. John, I know you're going to hate it.
Oh, it's going to be awesome.
It's not going to be a lot of 1 o'clock kickoffs, but the Jags are going to be a team. They're on Monday Night Football, primetime.
We'll talk about it, I'm sure, as this week goes on, but it's going to be a great environment. I'm very excited that Monday Night Football is coming back to Jacksonville, as I'm sure all the fans are. It's going to be a good one against the Bengals. But until Wednesday, we'll see you back here on Jags A.M.